Former President Bill Clinton just wrapped up a deposition taken by the House Oversight Committee. Clinton wanted to do the deposition in public at a public hearing. The MAGA Republicans wanted to do it in secret, and former President Clinton turned the tables on Donald Trump here and also mentioned that Donald Trump appears to have been bragging about his relationship with Epstein, how close they were. And former President Clinton said that when Donald Trump would bring up Epstein around Clinton, Donald Trump talked about how they had a falling out regarding a real estate deal, which is what we have previously reported on the Midas Touch Network, and not that it involved Donald Trump kicking Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because he discovered that Epstein was engaged in child sex trafficking and other crimes. It was over a real estate transaction. That's what former President Clinton testified as well. But of course, the MAGA Republicans, who wanted to keep this thing secret for a reason, they tried to change the narrative right away because they know that Clinton's testimony was actually very damaging to Donald Trump. And so what ended up happening is you had the MAGA Republicans rush out after Clinton's deposition was over. You see James Comer right here, and I'll show you what he said in just a moment, where he said, look, everybody, Bill Clinton exonerated Donald Trump. He said they're using Bill Clinton as the character reference now for Donald Trump. That's how desperate they are. They go, former President Clinton went on to say that President Trump never said anything to me to make me think that he was involved. And he meant with Epstein. Now, as Democratic Congressmember Frost, who was in attendance at this deposition, said, I'm happy to clarify, President Clinton brought up a conversation he had with Trump in New York City regarding Epstein. Clinton said that Trump told him that he had a falling out with Epstein due to a land dispute, a real estate transaction. This directly refutes Trump's claims about why he fell out with Epstein. And the House Oversight Dems Rapid Response responded right away, and they said, let's be clear. Today, President Clinton raised more questions about the relationship between President Trump and Epstein, specifically with regards to the reason their relationship ended. Claims that President Clinton fully exonerated Trump are wrong and a mischaracterization. In fact, President Clinton confirmed that he knew Trump and Epstein had a close relationship and said Trump reported having great times with Epstein. The full transcript, unedited, should be released immediately. This is why the MAGA Republicans want to do these depositions in secret. Even if they're going to release the video later on, they want to rush out, change the narrative, spread the propaganda, try to overwhelm people with lies, and then people get confused about what really happened. That's why it's important that we report on all of the facts here at the Midas Touch Network. But just so you can see what James Comer reported, or what James Comer said happened, here's what he says. Play this clip.
The Democrats, who are the minority, had an hour. We will break for 10 minutes, then the majority will go back for our second hour, which will be the third total hour. That might be the halfway point. After that, that's yet to be determined. But just wanted to mention something, because I know there's a lot of obsession about President Trump from the media, a lot of curiosity about President Trump from the media. I want to make a statement, because they'll probably not mention this when they come out here. Ranking Member Garcia asked President Clinton, quote, should President Trump be called to answer questions for this committee? And President Clinton said, that's for you to decide. And the president went on to say that the president, Trump, has never said anything to me to make me think he was involved. And he met with Epstein. So I know there's a lot of curiosity about President Trump. I thought that was an interesting thing that President Clinton said. So I'll let the Democrats have the podium and they can answer your questions. But we'll come back at the conclusion. The majority will, and we'll answer all your questions.
Now, before former President Bill Clinton's deposition took place, Donald Trump was holding a press conference outside the Oval Office, on the White House lawn, where he said, I like Bill Clinton. I don't like seeing him deposed. And Donald Trump was terrified that Bill Clinton was going to do exactly what he did, which is to talk about the situation where Donald Trump told Clinton about Trump's friendship with Epstein and the great times they had together, and that they ultimately fell out because of a real estate transaction. Here's what Trump said about Bill Clinton's deposition. Let's play it.
Today, but no, I'm not happy with the way they go. deposed, but, you know, they certainly went after me a lot more than that. I don't like this. Look, I like
And here's where Donald Trump claimed that he was fully exonerated by the Epstein files, which he's not. Play this clip.
I don't know anything about the Epstein files, you know. I've been fully exonerated. Yeah.
And then he says Howard Lutnick is innocent of everything. Let's play this clip.
Howard Lutnick. What's your reaction to that?
Well, Howard would go in and do whatever he has to say. He's a very innocent guy. He's doing a good job.
Now, Democrats outside of, after former President Clinton's deposition ended, they went outside and held a press conference. We heard from Democratic Congresswoman Stansberry. Here's what she had to say.
To today's deposition, I want to be clear at the outset that President Clinton, as of today, has not been accused of a crime. There are not public files available that accuse him of a crime, whereas there are publicly available documents that do allege a crime of President Trump. But it is very well established that President Clinton had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and we are treating this investigation extraordinarily seriously. And when you see the recorded deposition, you will see that we asked all of the hard questions centering the survivors, making sure that we get to the bottom of where there are discrepancies in the record, and understanding how not only the crimes that Jeffrey Epstein committed could go on, but why there was a culture that surrounded him wherein the rich and powerful turned a blind eye.
Here is what Congressmember Garcia said to Donald Trump. You got to man up and show up and you be deposed.
President Trump needs to man up, get in front of this committee, and answer the questions and stop calling this investigation a hoax. And we've got to go in. Thank you all very much.
More from Congressmember Garcia here.
Republicans have now set a new precedent, which is to bring in presidents and former presidents to testify. So we're once again going to make that call that we did yesterday. We are now asking and demanding that President Trump officially come in and testify in front of the Oversight Committee. He appears in the Epstein files next to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell almost more than anybody else. So it's time for the president to answer questions about why files are missing from the DOJ, why there's been a White House cover-up, and why we continue in that administration to call this investigation a hoax. And finally, I'll review the call that we made yesterday that we are demanding, again, that the press and the public be allowed inside the depositions so that you can hear the answers and the questions directly. And if that's not going to happen, they need to release a full, unedited review of the questions and video within 24 hours of the end of these depositions. That means that the Secretary Clinton deposition needs to be released immediately today.
And then state regime media, which calls itself Fox News, they propaganda in high gear. And they said Donald Trump never went on Epstein's jet. It was only Bill Clinton. And that's why Bill Clinton has to be deposed, but Trump shouldn't. Trump's never been on the jet. Here, play this clip.
I don't know what it is, but I would like to hear from her.
I would note that Donald Trump was not on the plane, so putting him in the same pool as Bill Clinton, who was on the plane, I think it was.
But he's mentioned Kayleigh all of. So ask him the question.
However, and I
like not just why lie, but the most egregious lie. Like we know that Trump was on that plane multiple times, perhaps dozens of times. Here's an email from the Epstein files, January 7th, 2020, from the federal prosecutors to each other. Here's what they write. These are the federal prosecutors emailing other federal prosecutors. For your situational awareness, wanted to let you know that the flight records we received yesterday reflect that Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously has been reported or that we were aware of.